Alright, so I'm just going to hold a bit. Let me see if more people are going to join in on the live so we can just get started. So just chilling to see how many more people joining on the live. So you can follow me if you're not following me yet. Share the live and maybe few minutes we're going to start. But if you are joining now and you don't know what we're doing an introduction to JavaScript. So this is like the basic level. It's the setting up and just the main things you should learn once you're about to start entering JavaScript. So if that is of interest to you, stay tuned, share the live so we can kick off. Hi, Nabil, is that how you pronounce your name? Hi. So just like the live, share it, and we're going to kick off shortly. Okay, once again, if you are just joining in, this is an introduction to JavaScript. If you are interested in that, stay tuned. We're going to kick off shortly. I'm just waiting to see if maybe a couple more people are going to tune in so we can kick off officially. I don't want it to be that we'll start and people start popping in halfway. Please like and feel free to encourage me with gifts. Okay, before we start, I also want to know, are any of you here familiar with HTML and CSS? Is there anyone who is here currently that doesn't have an idea what HTML or CSS is? Earlier on this morning, sometime around 4 West African time, I did an introduction to HTML and basic introduction to CSS because it's kind of like advice that you have knowledge of those things before we officially start learning JavaScript. So just waiting, let me hold on for a few more minutes and then I'll officially kick off the live. If you aren't following me yet, please do that, share the like, and yeah, get your laptop so we can start. I'm going to start right now. Okay, so I'm sure a few people are familiar. Actually, everyone should be familiar with JavaScript. It's literally one of the most popular programming languages in the world. A couple years back, I think before 2015, JavaScript was strictly used for enhancing your web pages. For example, when you want to submit forms or carry out other actions that HTML and CSS couldn't do on their own, even animating and other things relating to that, JavaScript was used for that. And I think sometime after 2015 it became a thing on its own and it started getting involved with frameworks. It started using JavaScript to develop fully functioning apps of its own. So down the line, that is the main goal. So we'll learn the basics of JavaScript and we're going to progress to learning frameworks. We have there's Angular, there's React. Those are some of the most popular JavaScript frameworks. So hopefully by the ending of this whole live series, I'm going to be coming on every day. I'm trying to find out which time will be more convenient. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave it below. But I'm looking to see a time that will be more convenient to be going on live. And once we've established that, I'll just say that at that exact time I'm going to come on live and we'll just do it. I'm not going to take I'm not going to take your time. Programming shouldn't be stressful. It should just be, I'll give you the basics, you use what I've given you and you go on your own and look into it. For those of you who are just joining, welcome. We are doing introduction to JavaScript. This is the very first lesson. Hopefully you stay tuned and please leave like, support the live any way you feel like it, and we're going to kick off now. So if you haven't set up JavaScript before, or if you've never run it before, there are there are two main ways to run JavaScript. The first one, like I just mentioned, is implementing it in your web pages. And once you do that, if you want to view it, you can view it on the console on your browser. So if I were to open up let me just open up a browser. If I were to open up okay, if I were to open up a page right now, sorry, let me just connect. I didn't turn on my hotspot, so let me do that quickly. So your web pages come with something called consoles. So it's on those consoles where you'd usually run your programs. So I'm just gonna see if I can just pull up a random page console and I'll just view it. Please leave likes on the page, on the live. So if I right click, or you can, I think F12 is the short code, but if you right click, you can see inspect down here. So if you click on inspect over here, you can see this comes like where you get the source code to see what it's making the site you're currently on to run. So if we just scroll up here, can you see it's console? So this is kind of where all the viewings of our JavaScript log. So if we want to run a JavaScript program of our own, we can just come here, the most popular JavaScript console.log, that is used for printing, but we're going to jump into it fully very soon. And let's just print something. Welcome to the live. And it's printed. So that is the first way to run your JavaScript. That's where you can run JavaScript from your web browser. And secondly, there is I have YouTube Studio. I was trying to set it up earlier, but I don't know, it wasn't picking up, so I just left it. I'm going to fully set it up. So the next live we're going to be using the ticker. I already have it. I've already installed it. I've installed it already, but I was trying to set it up and it was just misbehaving. I don't know why. It was not picking up my network. So I don't know, my network has been very poor recent, so I just left it. But hopefully by tomorrow I'm going to see if I can just get a MiFi and just connect for me to that. But the next live, that will be probably tomorrow morning, I think sometime around 12 or so. That is 12 in the morning. I would be using the TikTok live, so I'm going to finish setting it up, get a stronger network to use for hosting it. Alright, so after I've shown you, the first way is using your web browser on the console, and secondly is using node.js. That is kind of like installing Python to run Python programs. So this is the site where you download it from. It's nodejs.org. You can now click on downloads and you'll see to pick which one is best suited for the operating system you're running on. So I'm using Windows, so I've installed it already. I've installed a text editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code. You can use any one of your choice. I would suggest you use either Visual Studio Code or Notepad++, or Sublime Text is also good. So I think those are the three ones that I've actually really used and enjoyed. So you can look into those. But now that I've done, we're just going to create a folder. I'm running using node.js. So once you've installed it, set it up, it automatically adds to paths. So just set it up, and you can open up the browser you're working on. So create a new file. If you're working with Visual Studio Code, you don't know how to create, you can either use a code that is code and the name of the file .js, or you can create it manually. So JavaScript files are ended with the extension .js. So once you save it, we are going to just jump into our program for today. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be looking at is one of the most popular aspect of programming, which is variables and constants. I believe everybody is very familiar with what variables and constants are. So variables is kind of like a container for content. It's to hold data in your program, and variables hold you can create variables to hold any single data type there is, just declaring the variable and assigning values to it so it's not undefined. So previously, like earlier, the earlier versions of JavaScript, when you were declaring a variable, you made use of var, that is var. So this is how it looked when you were declaring the variables earlier. So you pass in var and the name of what you want to call the variable. In this case, let's use num, and you assign a value to it. But now after this latest version that just came out, which is kind of like the new version, everything is surrounded nowadays, you use let. So that is let, it's still the same syntax of declaring it, let num equals, and you assign a variable into it. So declaring variables in JavaScript is very, very easy. Don't forget to end it with a semicolon so your code doesn't crash down the line. Next, there are constants. Now when you're working with variables, if I were to say, let's say I assigned num as 7, and later on in my code I wanted to change the value of this variable, I can easily do that. But once you declare a constant, you can't change, it's immutable. So if declaring constant, you use the const, so that is const, and you pass the name of what you want to call it. I'm just using num as an example, and you pass the value you want. And once you have declared it at this line, anywhere you declare it again below it, it's not going to change. No matter how many times we try to change the value, num is always going to remain 7 because we set it as a constant. You can't go and change the value of pi because it's a constant. Next, the console log I showed you earlier. So console log is used to printing, that is like to display the text, to display an information to the front or to the interface of your software or of your system. So in most programming languages, it's usually just passed as print, but in JavaScript, it's console.log. So let me just clear this one out. So if I wanted to print this constant, I'm going to pass console.log, and we're just passing the name of the constant, which is in this case num. So if we were to print a number, we are just passing in the number directly. If you wanted to print a variable, you are passing in the variable directly. But if you want to print a string, your string is to be passed within an a double, what do you call the stuff, this what do you call the stuff, these inverted commas, your string should be printed within it. If you pass a string of characters and there's no inverted comma around it, it's going to be seen as you trying to call a variable, and if that variable hasn't been declared yet, is going to cause an error in your program. So if you are printing a string, or if you want to print a word or a sentence, it should be passed within inverted commas, or even the single, whether double, single, should just be enclosed within those inverted commas. If you are passing a number, you can do it anyhow you wish. I'm streaming from Nigeria, and yeah, so I've saved it. Let's run. So if I were running directly from my terminal, so I'm going to run it manually first. If I were to run this code directly from my terminal, if you are familiar with running Python code, you usually pass the Python, like Python, and the name of the file. It's quite similar when you're working with Node. So we're going to pass Node as a command, and the name of the JavaScript file we want to run in this case is test.js, and it's printed the constant for us. So that is it. Like JavaScript is very, very easy. It's very, very easy if you are really interested in learning it. Next, data types. So if this isn't your first programming language, I'm sure you're familiar with most of the data types I'm going to list now. But JavaScript has a few other data types that are just very unique to JavaScript alone. So you have strings, which I have been talking about a lot. No, not Lagos. You have strings, which I've been talking about a lot. Those are like a collection of characters, your words, sentences. They're all called strings. You have numbers. So usually, like, I'm making a lot of reference to Python because I'm a Python developer. But in Python, we have float as a data type of its own and integer as a data type of its own. But in JavaScript, number is the data type, and this number covers things like integer, float, and it also allows you to make use of exponentials. I don't know if you're familiar with exponentials. That's when you have a certain number times 10 raised to the power. Okay, let me give you an example here. So let me just clear this out. So let's just exponent 7. So if you have a scientific calculator, you can easily just test it. So let's pass maybe 7 exponential 5. So basically it's going to be 7 times 10 raised to the power of 5. So let's save it and run it. So you can see it. So if you had 7 times 10 raised to the power of 5, you can try it out on your system and on your scientific calculator and see if it's going to give you the exact same output as that. So those are the three categories of, those are three types of input that a number data type takes. Then there's big integer. That's when you're dealing with a larger amount of numbers, usually numbers that run into infinity. They're like the long list of that, so you can go further and do more originality. I'm going to release a few documents on it. Maybe I'll upload to GitHub, so after the life ends, you all can check it out. And then there's Boolean. Everybody knows Boolean, true or false. It's used when you want to check if something is true or if something is false. Okay, and next we have undefined. So an undefined variable is a variable that hasn't been declared yet. For example, if let's say okay, I've mentioned when we have called a variable, let me do that. So I have declared this variable let num, but I haven't assigned any value to it. So at ease like this, it's undefined. There's nothing wrong with my code, I just haven't assigned the variable to it. So I may want my program to run, and after a certain action is carried out, I want a value to be, once you start working on a like a larger project, you're going to understand it much better. Let's say I want to assign a certain value or a certain value to that variable after something has been carried out. Once you start working with conditionals, I wouldn't be doing that today though. And next is null. So undefined and null may get you confused a bit. Undefined is when nothing has been assigned to the variable, while null is when you have assigned the variable to become an empty, kind of like when you have an empty set. So those two are kind of similar. And symbol. So these symbols, if I'm going to be honest, I honestly don't really understand it. But symbols supposed to become like uniqueness of variables. I'm still trying to understand it. But I know if let's say I were to declare these two variables and make it a symbol. So symbols is usually declared with symbol. And when I were to make it a symbol and maybe pass something like 8 into it, and I were to repeat this exact same line, even though these two lines have this exact same input, due to this symbol that has been passed before it makes them completely different. So I'm still very confused. I've never come across it in any programming language I have used, but I'll maybe release a complete video explaining it better on my YouTube channel. But as for now, just you can read further on it if you are interested in that. And finally we have object. So if you have done other programming languages before, object is similar to dictionary. It holds multiple types of data in it. So let's type of is it's used when you want to check, let's say you don't know what type of what the data type of a certain variable is. I'm just using numbers, I don't know why. So if I wanted to check what the data type of this is, maybe I can do console.log, and I could pass the type of function, and I'll just pass the variable I want to search, num, save it, and I'll just quickly run it. So it should give me number. You've seen it. So it should give me number. That is the current type of the yeah. Next is operators. So there are a long list of operators. You have your assignment operator. These where you have the equal to. That is for like this one I've been using here. We're assigning 9 into num. If let's say we want to go a step further, let me clear this out. And we have declared 9 into num, and maybe we want to do something more and increase the value of num. We can set num plus equal to, so that is whatever is currently within this variable. We want to add 8 to it and place it back in the variable. So that is what that is. And then the arithmetic operator. So these are you kind of like your mathematical equations. You have the most common ones: plus, multiplication, asterisk for plus, subtraction, asterisk for multiplication, and you have the backslash for division. So if let's say if you want to further your assignment operator, you can get all these arithmetic operators and push them into the variable you want to assign everything to. Okay. Next, if you want to get the remainder, I don't know if you are all familiar with modules. So let's declare 2 new variables. Let's have let num equals to 1. Don't forget to end your line with your semicolon. And let me change the number from 7. Let me set it to something that isn't divisible by 6. Let me change this number. Let's put 7 and let's set this to 2. So if I want to print something, I'll do console.log, and within it I'm going to do n module, that is the percentage sign, num. So let's run that. And it gives us 1. Well, thank you all of you. Thank you to Slim for sending me roses. Okay. And next you have incrementation and decrementation. Is that how you pronounce it? We have increment and decrement basically. So if let's say I was giving this line here 7 and I wanted to reduce it, I wish I was introducing you all to to control flow today, so we could just jump into looping and all those, but we wouldn't be doing that today. But if let's say I wanted to loop, and for every time I loop I want to decrement, I'll pass. If you see anywhere in your program where you have double minus sign together or double addition sign together, if it's addition then it's incrementation, so you're increasing by 1. And if it's minus is decrement. My laptop, I think the name of my laptop is an Elite book, though I can't remember which it is, but it's an Elite book, I think. I'll check and I'll upload it onto my profile, but I can't remember exactly. Alright. Next you have exponentiation, that is raised to the power of. So if you want to raise something to the power of a certain thing, you use double asterisks. So we have a normal addition, subtraction, multiplication, which is an asterisk, division, which is a backslash. Then we have modules, that is the remainder of, which is a percentage sign. We have a double addition, which is an incrementation. We have a double subtraction, which is a decrementation. And we have a double asterisk, which is an exponentiation. So those are all the arithmetic operators they are. Next, we have comparison. Guys, I'm sure when we want to compare, this is going to come very useful once you go to control flow. And I've been mentioning control flow a lot, but there's no programming language that is useful. Like, there's literally nothing unless it's a very static page. But if you want something dynamic, you need to be able to receive multiple conditions from the users to kind of like carry out actions depending on what the user requested. So if you want to now compare, you can use double equal sign. This is now the original equals to, you all know. That is, if I'm jumping into Python, but just basically saying if a certain thing is equal to this, that is when you have double equation sign. So if you have a double equation, so we're trying to say, if let's say we have, if a is equal to b, let's say we had b, so we're now going to loop around it. So if a and b are equal, then it's going to pass through. That is, these comparison operators release boolean as their output, so it's either true or false. It can never be anything other, so it's either true or false. So you have, it's either, if it's equal to, so you either be true or not. You have, if it's not equal to, that is when you have an exclamation mark before the equal sign. If it's not equal to, then when you have things like triple equal to, so I was doing this last semester, and when I still have the notes where the lecturer explained to us, if you have triple equal to, that's kind of like, it's more strict. It's still the same, like both of them equal, but it's stricter kind of. I don't know if I'm passing it across. Next, you have the most famous greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So next we have logic. So I don't know if you all remember logic gates, where you have AND gates, OR gates, and NOT. Those are the three logic gates that we usually make use of in programming. So when you have AND in Python, in in JavaScript, the AND gate is this double ampersand. Is that how you pronounce it? Someone should please, what do you call this stuff? So when you have double of this stuff, that is and the way the condition of AND works is, if a and let's say we pass, let's say I'm not declaring it here, I'm just passing. So let's say our first work was, this is not the correct syntax, I'm just trying to explain it, so please don't. So if we had, if a is equals to b, and we passed maybe something like the ampersand, and I'm not pronouncing that correctly, and let's say we had if n is equals to h. So this also really passes a true or false output. JavaScript now needs gender. No, it's just kind of like a profile stuff, like I'm a female developer, so it has nothing to do with JavaScript. So if let's say this first, if a is equal to b, is going to pass through, and if n, I put only one equal sign, and if n is equal to h, is going to pass through. So the AND is kind of saying, just when you're working with logic gate, just think of 1 and zeros. So you have 0 and 1. If you have and is multiplication, so 1 times 0 is going to give you 0, which means your output will be false, because 0 is false and 1 is true. So if let's say a was false, it's going to be 0, and if 1 was true, it's going to be 1. 1 times 0 is 0, which means it's going to output 0. This is kind of what I use when I'm trying to understand logic gate. Yes, it's and is the logic and operator. Yeah. So if you pass a gate into it and both of them are not true, your output cannot be true. But if you were using the OR is this stuff. What do you call this stuff? These straight lines. I can't even find on my computer. This stuff, that is your OR operator. So OR is addition. 0 plus 0 is 0, but 0 plus 1 is 1. So even if 1 is false, but at least 1 in your equation is true, then your output is going to be true. And lastly, you have the NOT operator, which means if it's true, then it's false, and if it's false, then it's true. Now is like the most basic is the most basic form of JavaScript, of logic gate. What else do I want to cover? All right, there are a list of other operators that don't really fall into any of these categories. They just kind of exist on their own. So you have delete. Once you start working with data structures, kind of like collections of data, you are going to be seeing this when you start working with arrays. I don't know if you are familiar with arrays. Kind of like it's similar to list. In Python, we don't have anything we actually call arrays. We call them lists. So it's a school course. Most schools usually do this as a course. So if you have your arrays, you want to delete from a specific point of the array, you use the delete function. You have type of. I've already introduced you to type of to check. Okay, there's another thing that is very similar to type of. We have instance of. Now type of checks tells you what the data type of your variable is, whilst instance of checks to see if your, okay, how will I explain it? That one is working with condition. Let's say I want to check if my variable a, let's say, okay, if the variable num has a data type of numbers, so I'll do instance of and passing the number as the argument. And if num is a number, so it's going to pass me true statement. So that one is, it doesn't tell me what the data type is. Type of is what tells you the data type. Instance of is what passes a condition to check if, sorry, once we get into control flow, we are going to look into this much better. Now, the most popular aspect of every single program in your documentation, aka your comments. So when you want to comment in JavaScript, you have your single line comment. That is when you just have two backslashes, and you pass in the comments you want to work on. So a comment there, just, I don't know what to write. But if you are doing a long comment where you'd want it, where you're going to like run into multiple lines, and you don't want to have to start declaring these new lines every single time you're jumping the comments, it's just you use this backslash, an asterisk, another asterisk, and a backslash again, and you just enter and just type your program in between it, and everywhere within this point is going to be commented out. Okay, well, else I don't know, should I go into type conversion? So no, let's not do that yet. Before if I go further, because of this everything I've finished literally the basic introduction to JavaScript is very easy. So I don't know if there's anything you'd like me to elaborate on. If not, I can jump into the next aspect of the course if you all want that. I should jump. Okay. Alright. Alright, so let me just, the next aspect is the control flow. But before that, let me just okay, it's not like it's a new day or anything, but before you jump fully into control flow, you need to remember your boolean operators, your logic operators, and your comparison operators, because those are the things you use to carry out certain actions in your control flow. Because you cannot check if a condition is true unless you pass the condition, unless you declare the condition in which you want to check. But next we are going to our if else statements. I'm sure like anybody who has done at least one programming language, and no, HTML isn't a programming language. So if you have done a programming language, one or two, I'm sure you have come across the if statement. So let's pass a basic if statement, just if, not if else now, just if. So firstly, we're going to declare two variables. Let's work with constants. So let's declare two constants. So that is going to be const, and we're going to pass in the name of the variable. We have num. Let me set one to be number one, or just anything, doesn't really matter. And we'll have equal to. So let's give it two random numbers, 78. Don't forget to end it with a semicolon, and it's 8. So we want to check, let's check if both of them are equal to each other. The syntax of that is very, very straightforward. You have if, then you're not going to in a bracket declare your condition. So we can say if num is equal to, now the equal to is in this case is double equal to. Don't mistake it, there are 3 different types of equals. There's the single equal to, which is an assignment operator. The double one, which is this one making is a comparison operator, and the triple equator is stricter. It is, well, how would I describe it? It is it's a stricter, it's still a comparison operator, but it's way more stricter than yeah. Okay, so we want to check if num is equal to num 5, which is obviously not. It's not equal to, okay, let's pass one that is equal. Let's get a positive outcome first before start jumping. Num is equal to 78. So if num is equal to 78, now we're going to pass this curly braces. This curly braces is what is going to hold out the parameter for the condition, the actions we want to be carried out once this condition is true. So let's just print, because we haven't really learned how to do anything yet. No, that isn't the triple equator. The triple equator is a stricter version. If you want to check if something is equal to another, you make use of that double equation sign. The triple equation sign can apply similarly, but it's stricter. You are checking from the data type, the memory size. But if you want to assign, you're using a single equation. Have you understood it now? I'm addressing what you commented, Usman. All right. So if we pass in console.log, and we just want to print, let's print let's print true, so we can save it. So this, we've got, this is a positive outcome, so it should give us let's print true and let's run it. So it printed true. But if we were to just pass in something that, let's just pass a condition that it didn't assign to, it's going to pass, and it's not, there's no condition for it, it's not going to pass this console log, because console log is only if the condition we passed was true and there's nothing else outside the bracket. If we had, okay, let's pass something outside. Done. So since it doesn't favor this condition, it's just going to skip this whole block. It's just going to skip it and come to the final one, which doesn't apply to any specific condition. You run it and you only pass it done. But if we're to print something that favors both, it's going to print out both of them. Now next is the if else statement. That is usually used if you want to pass, okay, if this is true, carry out this else. So I just continue from the end of our curly brace. Else, we want to just print false. I have never made use of Eclipse before, so honestly, I don't know. I've never made use of it. So I don't really know how the interface looks or how it works, honestly, but maybe I'll look into that. All right, so we have passed. So where we have declared this, we are currently making use of this first variable. We're making use of this first variable, which is the constant num equals to 78, and then we're passing a condition. If num is equals to 79, which is obviously false, we're going to print true. But if it isn't, we're going to print false. So we're expecting the output of our program to be false and then to be true, to be done. Okay, I haven't entered Java programming. I've done C, I've done C++. I'm a Python developer, and now I'm doing JavaScript. I haven't done any other programming. I don't think I have. If I have, I haven't really paid much attention to it. All right, so you can see we got false, which was what was passed within the else block, and then we got done, which is kind of like our ending statement, a general continuation of the program. Then if you want, let's say we had multiple conditions we wanted to run through. Let's say we wanted to test for a lot of things. We wanted to test if it was equals to 79, else if that in most languages is usually elif, but in this case let's just continue from here where we are. So we want to pass in another condition, so it's kind of like the exact same it's kind of like the same syntax, but instead of just jumping, we're just going to pass the else and add if okay, let's just continue. Just can, okay, see, the syntax has already been popped up here. If let's use this one they gave us, if none is equal to 80, which also is false, but I'm just trying to explain I'm trying to explain. Okay, no, let's pass if it's, let's use greater than, let's make use of greater than. If it's greater than 70, let's check here, let's change this from true so we understand what the output we are getting. For Python is an OOP, so we, let's say if it's equal to 7, say it's equal to 7 or equals to 7 to 79. If it's greater than, if it's greater than 70, then want to pass greater than 70. So I'm just trying to get multiple test sequence. You can continue, if you have more conditions, you can continue passing as many more conditions as you want. You just make sure you're using the syntax. After you have passed if, you pass else if for all your conditions, and finally you end with the else statement that is saying if none of your conditions were favored, this is what you want to be done to the program. You can pass it like JavaScript have his own pass command. So let's just end it here. Else, now the final else doesn't take any condition because that is just holding everything that didn't fit into the conditions you pass. So it's just else and just print. Let's just print none. Alright, let's run. So it's greater than 70, so we're expecting to get greater than 70 as our outcome because that condition is favored. All right, so there it is, greater than 70, then done, which was our final sequence for the program. So is there any other question one before we advance? Okay, another thing, you can nest your conditions. So I don't want to get the program all bulky since this is the very first time I'm introducing JavaScript. But when you're working with conditions, you might have multiple conditions you want to pass. For example, if you want to, now I've declared him, let's see here we've checked, let's make this one nested. So I'm just going to clear this out. So let's see here, I checked to see if our number was equal to 79. Let's make it equal to 78, so it's going to continue. If it's equal to 78, it's going to print this. Then I want to test for another condition when this first condition is favored. So we cannot just jump to elif because elif is not going to just continue flowing. She's not nested basically. So we're going to declare a whole new we're going to start a whole new how will I explain it? We are starting a whole new set of conditions. If you're interested in Python, I do Python tutorials on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is linked in my bio, so you can just good, you can just go there and check it. I'm using Visual Studio Code, not Visual Studio Code, the blue one. Yeah, but if you don't have that, you can use Sublime Text is good, Notepad plus plus is good also. So I want to get a nested statement, so I'm just going to pass another if. So if what should I check? What should I check? If num is greater than, let's check if it's greater than num5. We want to print something out. If I keep saying print, just now I'm talking about displaying. I'm used to using print as my display statement, so I'm not yet accustomed to just calling it console log, because console log isn't something you can just be trained into your sentences. So if num is greater than num5, then let's pass okay, so in Python we had this stuff called formatted strings. I don't know what exactly is called in JavaScript, but I remember when I was looking at it into JavaScript, I think I saw something a bit similar. So we're just going to try and run it and see if it works. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but we're going to try and implement a formatted string here, so it's going to make our typing of our sentences easier. So for those of you who don't know what a formatted string is, it's kind of like calling a variable within a string. So we want to print the first thing. So we're going to have two curly braces, and within the curly braces we're going to declare the name of the variable we want to call. Okay, I think JavaScript has a $sign before its own. So we have a $sign, the curly brace, and the name of the variable, so that is num. I don't know, part of me thinks this isn't going to work. Okay, console log num is not greater. Okay, num is greater than. Let me just quickly test this to see if it works. So let's make num greater than 5 so that this part is going to run. I save it. Okay, I know it doesn't work, so I'm going to just look further into it. I don't know if there's something you call ahead of it for that to work, but I'll look into that and I'll I know it doesn't work, but let's just pass it as normal string. So we can just, if you want to work with one, we can now do the normal addition, that is joining. So that is when we just have the variable plus the string another plus. Okay, let's try this and see if this is going to run. Okay, run. I didn't include space, so everything is jam-packed, but it's running, so I guess that's a good sign. So basically what I was just trying to implement there is a nested if loop. So if I want to continue my looping, but I don't want to have to start creating multiple conditions, because there's certain things that it's all within the same lane, that if this is true, there's a very large possibility that this other thing is true. So we can't want to check to be sure that we're getting the exact conditions we need instead of going outside. Because okay, for example, okay, yes, rock paper scissors, it's a that is going to be our project for the ending of this life. It's a very popular game to use and test this. But if let's say we wanted to want to make a game, so the system, let's say, called rock, and you call paper, there are three conditions we need to pass with it. First, if you called rock, what was the condition? If it was this, we're going to get into that at the ending of this live, but I don't know if you're starting to pick up what I'm trying to put out there. Next and finally, we have, or should I, okay, let's cover for loop, and after that we're just going to create the rock paper scissors game, and we can end this live for today. Then from West African time, sometime around, I'm going, I don't know the exact time yet. I don't know how today is going to be, but depending, I'll upload on my profile when I'll be going live next. I'll upload like 30 minutes ahead when I'll be going live, so y'all can just tune in. I can just kick off immediately. Hopefully by that time I'll have finished setting up my live studio on my system, so I'll just be mirroring my screen to you guys. Okay, so the for loop, the system of the for loop, the way for loops works is you have a condition, and usually this condition is usually the best time to use for loop is when you are working with, I don't know if data structure is the best word, but a collection of data. Maybe you're working with a range of data, you're working with an array of data, so it just depends, but you want to loop within those data and kind of like carry out certain action as long as the condition is still true. So once you declare your for loop, so let me just clear here so we can just start fresh. So once you call your for loop, there are multiple things that are called within the parameter. The first one is usually called your initial expression, which is kind of like the main variable you are calling. So right here you can either declare the variable outside. So let's declare it outside. No, let's just declare everything within a line. Kind of like to save space and all. So we're making use of let. So let num equals, let's just start with, we're going to decrement it, so let's start with maybe 6, and we're going to have a semicolon. Next, we want to pass the condition, which is the thing we want to be favored. So what do we want? We want num to be greater than 0. Yes, because we're decrementing. So we want num to be greater than 0. So we're going to be passing just the condition. You don't need to declare if or else or anything. Just pass the variable name and the greater than 0. Yeah, because if it's greater than 0, it's going to stop at 1. If you put greater than or equal to, it's going to reach 0. So we just want to stop at 1. So if it's greater than 0, then finally the action wants to be carried out. So you can, if you have a long list of action, you can write a whole equation down there you want it to follow. If not, I'm just going to decrement it. So remember, I introduced you all to decrement. If you are just tuning in now, decrementation is when you have double subtraction sign. That is when it removes 1. Like if you have 5 and you decrement it, it's going to go to 4. If you decrement 4, it's going to go to 3. So you're just removing a single value out of it every single time that decrementation value is called. And it's the same thing for incrementation, only that instead of subtracting, you're increasing it. So we have let num equals to same when num is greater than, I use less than when num is greater than 0. Then want to increment num, want to decrement num. So you're just going to call num and pass the 2 subtraction signs. So once I've called it, we are now going to just pass in our curly braces, which is going to be the start. Yes, this is VS Code. So what do we want? What do we want to print? Let's just print. Should we just print num? If you are new to programming, I think I would advise you to learn JavaScript. I don't know what language you are currently learning, but I would advise you to learn JavaScript. Usually the best roadmap for programming is HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, then you go to JavaScript. After JavaScript, you can now go and start advancing to maybe some SQL. You can go to React. That is still under JavaScript, but it's like a more advanced version of JavaScript. then you can go to AWS, then Python. So if you're still on CSS, that is all good. Okay, we want to print, let's print num. So console dot log, and we just want to print num. All right, so basically what these for CSS, I don't give lessons on CSS, but I take suggestions. Like if you have anything you want me to base on, you can let me know, whether it's on TikTok, on Instagram, or on YouTube, and I'll upload videos explaining it in detail. But the whole idea of the reason I started doing live TikTok tutorials is so you can be asking me questions as I'm going on, so I'm explaining based on the questions you have. So it's not leaving a comment and there's a large chance I may not see the comment you're leaving. But if you head over to my profile, my TikTok profile, you see my Instagram and my YouTube is linked there. We're just doing introduction. This is an introduction to JavaScript. We're learning all the basics of everything you need for JavaScript. So if you're just in now, you're coming in late, I'm going to leave. I've not yet worked on it, so I'm going to set up a document and I'll just upload it to maybe Google Docs or GitHub, so you can access it and just read through it on your own. And maybe I'll do a normal short video and upload it onto my TikTok profile. Okay, so let me just trace us back to where we are right now. Okay, if you are new, you can still join. We haven't really gone far in. We have not gone far at all. We have just covered most of the basics of it. So I'm going to release maybe okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go live again, and I'm going to just kind of do a revision of everything we just covered in this video. I'll release the document, so by the time I'm doing the next live, the document will be out. So yes, I upload the live videos on YouTube at the end of the session, so everything's going to be on YouTube. As I'm saying, you can head over to my TikTok profile, my YouTube and my Instagram are all linked there, so you can just check me out. I don't really post much on Instagram, but on YouTube I do mostly tutorial videos, although my YouTube is mostly revolving around Python because I am a Python developer. But I want to start diverting into JavaScript. That's kind of like one of the mistakes I made. I jumped into Python without really going to JavaScript. It didn't affect me per se, but JavaScript is just something you should have a knowledge of. Okay, so I'm trying to explain what we have so far on the screen. We called the for loop by just declaring for, and we passed the condition. So the first one was our initial expression, which is we declared a new variable since we didn't have any variable already declared. So we declared a variable and assigned 6 to it. Then we passed in the condition which we wanted to test the variable against, which is here, num greater than 0. That's if, just when you're reading that, we just read it as if num is greater than 0. And finally we wanted to pass the an action we want to be taken on our initial expression to change, because if we leave here to be blank, it's going to be an endless loop, and there's no point of that unless maybe that's what you want. But like for example, we want to, okay, you know what, no. So we passed our updated expression is passing the decrementation value on num, which is going to subtract 1 from it every single time we go through the loop. So we're just moving in a circle, and yeah, so for every time the condition is favored, we just want to print the number at hand. So we can say that, and so you can see we have 6 5 4 3 2 1 is going down. If I want to add 0, I can I'll just simply put an equal sign in front of it, save it, and I will run it. So you see now we have 6 5 4 3 2 1 0. So I don't know, did I explain for loop to you? If you have any question, please just let me know. Yeah, I was having an issue setting up my TikTok live, but the next video is going to be fully set up, so I'm not going to, right now I'm holding it, but by next I'm just going to be screencasting from my PC, so just bear with me for this video. Is there anything you guys would want me to touch on? I passed more than what I wanted to cover for this particular video. So in the next video, that is later on today or tomorrow, we're going to go into, there are two different types of loops. There's the for loop and the while loop. So in next video, we're going to enter while loop. We're going to go into the working with loops, that is like breaking, continuing, switch, and after that we're going to functions. So yes, I want to know if you all have any other question you want to ask, or should I still continue? I don't know if you want me to still continue, or if I should just leave it for the next video. I'm a full stack developer. I do both front end and back end. Oh yeah, it's true. Thank you for reminding me. I said we're going to develop a rock, paper, scissors. So yes, let's get on that. We're going to develop a program to play the game rock, paper, and scissors. So let me just comment it so we know what it is. I'm going to upload the source code of this program to my GitHub. So just rock. I don't know how to spell scissors. Rock, paper, and scissors. Someone should please spell scissors for me. Okay, so alright, thank you. I think I got it. Okay, so I'm going to explain how the theory of of the game of sorry of the how the theory of the program is going to be before we officially kick off. But for, if you have like, okay, so okay, the main method I would have used, because we're not playing with a user, we're playing against the computer. So the computer is supposed to have three options, and from those options it's supposed to pick up something which it passes as its option. So it's supposed to be like a collection of either rock, paper, or scissors. But I haven't really introduced that method to you yet. No, I haven't learned React. I'm new to JavaScript. I am a Python developer. I actually just started learning JavaScript yesterday, honestly. So I was like, I want to, like, as I'm learning the JavaScript, I want to be teaching others as I'm learning it. I'm a Python developer. I've never in my life done any single thing relating to JavaScript. I don't use JavaScript at all. So I don't know any of the frameworks yet, but hopefully I'm giving myself 2 months. By the end of next month I should have started using React, and y'all will be joining me on the journey if you're interested in that. Okay, you know what, let's not play against the system, because I've not showed you guys how to generate random, and I've not even introduced you all to arrays. So let's just make it a 2-player game. So let's declare 2 variables. So not forgetting declaring a variable. No, do HTML and CSS first before you go to JavaScript. You, like, before you learn any single programming language in this world, you should have already known HTML and CSS. You mustn't have mastered CSS, but you should know how to write a HTML and a CSS program. JavaScript is to complement. That was the main idea of JavaScript initially when it was made. It was to enhance the features of HTML programs. So you can't learn JavaScript and go to HTML. So you learn HTML, then learn JavaScript, or learn that programming language it is you want to learn. Okay, so want to create let's. I'm from Nigeria. Let player one. Let's just put P1 is equal to. Oh wow. Okay. No, I haven't showed you guys how to take input in JavaScript. Okay, so let's do that now, because we need to receive your input. We need to receive your input in order to come. Just give me a minute, sorry. All right. Okay, so when you are receiving a user input, you use prompt, but this prompt usually is if you want it to be a string. So we're going to pass prompt. We're not passing any we're not just prompts. The user would know what they want to place inside. But okay, let me just check. Let me see it first. Let me be sure. Let me just use this to test. All right, so we can declare. So player one, let's just pass in player one. So now we're just going to assume that the user is going to input. We're going to assume that the user is going to pass their input in small letters, because we have not learned how to turn all the inputs given in a string to small. We have not learned how to manipulate a string yet, so we're just going to assume that whoever is in this application is really going to be writing in small letters. Once you want to start developing applications with, you cannot use plain JavaScript to develop an application. There's no programming language in this world that can develop an application on its own. That is why frameworks are a thing. So you need to have the frameworks of that specific language. So every single language have their frameworks. So it's using that frameworks that you'll now be able to build an application. So you cannot use just JavaScript. Plain JavaScript is when you're working on your web app, submitting of forms, making your animations better. That is one of the main things for JavaScript. Okay, so I've received the input for player 2. Now we're going to start passing our conditions to test. So we're going to lay out the first few conditionals we wanted to declare. So we want to test if player 1, let's pass out, we forgot our brackets. If player 1 is equal to, we're working with a string here, so say we're assuming everybody's writing in small letters, is equal to rock. So inside here we're going to have a nested string. We're going to have a nested string, but let's just leave it here. Let's just declare the next one. So we're going to have another else if. So you can see we're implementing the conditionals we worked with earlier. Else if player 1 is equal to paper. And we're going to assume that this user is not going to pass any input that is not rock, paper, or scissors. We're just making a lot of assumptions right now. This is not a program we're releasing. We're just kind of testing the skills we've already learned in this video. So finally, it's just going to be else. So if it's not rock, if it's not paper, then it's going to be scissors. So just going to pass our else. So now within this first one, if it's rock, so we're going to now have to check if what player 2's input was. So it's kind of going to be the exact same thing. So let me just quickly copy this. Okay, so here's player 2. So if player 1 is equal to rock and player 2 is equal to rock, then it's going to be a tie. So we're going to print tie. I mean, you know how to play rock, paper, scissors now. If player 1 is equal to rock and player 2 is equal to paper, player 2 wins. So it's going to be player 2 wins. Alright, and finally, if player 1 is rock and player 2 is scissors, then player 1 wins. Okay, next we're going to just repeat kind of like the same syntax basically. So we're going to just pass it. So if player 1 is paper and player 2 is rock, player 1 wins. If player 1 is paper and player 2 is paper, is going to be a tie. If you are using Visual Studio Code and you'd like to have this extension I'm using, like auto generating the code for me, it's very, very good. So you can let me know. I'm going to upload that maybe on my Instagram or my TikTok. And finally, if player 1 is paper and player 2 is scissors, player 2 wins. And the ending of our program. So you can see the program is a very, very simple program. So you can try it on your own. You can experiment and look for. There are so many ways to write this program. As you advance, we're going to change the way we're writing this program right now. If player 1 is scissors and player 2 is rock, I mean player 2 wins. If player 1 is scissors and player 2 is paper, then player 1 wins. And finally, if player 1, okay, why do we not have any tie in the last one? Because I think I did something wrong. If player 1 is scissors and player 2 is scissors, then it's a tie. Let's come back here. Okay, we had a tie. If player 1 is paper and player 2 is paper, is a tie. Okay, so let's run it and see if everything I've been doing has amounted to something. Okay, this it's the prompt is not running on my node. So that means easily on the system I can do that. I'm coming. Okay, I just googled it. So another alternative to this prompt is using read lines. Let's try that and see if that is going to help us. Like I said, I'm still new to JavaScript, so I'm not very fluent with it. So sorry about that. Read line. Okay, let's try this and see if this works. Hopefully it does. Still not going. Is it a problem with my node? Alright, so let's just run it from our browser here. Maybe once I'm done with this, I'll just kind of reinstall my node. But let's try running it on Alright, so we're up and running again. What is your player one? So let player one play rock, and let player two go for paper. So it's printed it here. Player two wins. So I'm going to just go and find out what the issue with my Visual Studio Code is. But for all of you who have been watching, for those of you who liked, who shared, and those of you who gifted, truly appreciate it. If you would like to, in later in the evening, we're going to come back and we're going to go further. We're going to be working on while loop. So if you're interested, you can follow me on TikTok. You can check my profile. You can check my bio. You see the link to my YouTube and the link to my Instagram. So if you tuned in late here and you'd like to see the full video of everything we've covered today, I'm going to be uploading it on my YouTube, so you can check me out on YouTube. Give that a subscribe also. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I appreciate every single one of you who tuned in today. Have a nice day.